of myself, and it's just, yeah,
I think we're live.
we are. It says we are.
Okay, cool. I have to babysit Facebook because and T-Mobile, as it turns out. I have to check on them and make sure every day T-Mobile tells me I'm out of whatchamacallits on my hotspot.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, could you please not refer to it as my hotspot? I think I'm beyond that. So, you guys, this is Rachel Rothenberg. She lives in Salt Lake. She's an amazing comic. If you get a chance, I am not ready for a booty call. Leave me alone. Every time I watch Rachel on stage, I see class, I see a future star. You know, for all I know, she's a star already. God, what do I know? I'm new at this whole comedy thing. She's so amazing. She's like a wordsmith on stage. And I know she's got acting chops behind her because I can tell when she's on stage, she doesn't like she holds her own on stage. She has brilliant comedy writing. She knows how to deliver. She knows stage presence. Oh, she's got a persona going on. This girl's got it. You guys book her, put her on a national tour, let her host or feature or something. I'm trying not to cuss. This girl deserves some breaks. Let's get out and support Rachel Rothenberg. This is why. Tell me about you growing up and deciding you're funny. How did that? You grew up in a home in what city, and who told you you're funny? How did this happen? You're a unicorn. You're beautiful. You're young. So beautiful. Oh my gosh. Funny, smart comedy. How did it happen, Rachel? How do we
Well,
clone you?
I mean, so I grew up in Connecticut. I am from the town that the Stepford Wives is based on. That's where I grew up. So I'm from Stepford. Well, I'm from Wilton, Connecticut, but if you look up Stepford, it's literally Wilton, Connecticut. Um, and I don't think I was under the impression that I was funny at all until a couple of years ago. I mean, I guess I talked about doing stand up for a few years before I did it, but I didn't. I just kind of tried it randomly, and it was just like the only thing that I've done that I has kind of like stuck for me. But I will tell you, I did write a funny poem in second grade that went kind of like proto viral around my school. People were like sharing my funny poem, and they were like, "Oh, this is so funny." And that was like the first time that people paid any attention to me and thought I was anything interesting, because I was like a super nerdy, awkward, weird child. I think I'm still a super awkward, weird, nerdy adult, but also I did come into myself more so since then. But I don't think, like, I was definitely not like a class clown or like a funny person. I just happened to um happen upon it later.
And so, when was the first time? This is a redo. We already interviewed, but Lord Almighty, I can't remember the interviews one by one.
Yeah.
So, when did you first get up on stage? How was that?
So I first tried it in March, the end of March in 2016. So I've been doing it for 4 years. And I was really, really, really bad for like 3 years. I was really, really bad for about 3 years, and then I got okay. So, and I, and I'm doing better now. But I apologize. I have allergies. But I started doing it after I had been doing political canvassing in 2016, because I was canvassing for one of the candidates that year, and I was going into people's living rooms and talking to them and having to basically, I was in like rural Nevada, and I was canvassing for a very liberal candidate, and I was going into conservative people's houses, and I found that the only way to get them to like speak to me and like invite me into their houses was to like make a joke and like make them laugh. And I found that I was good at that. And then I was like, wow, I should really go to open mic, because it's kind of similar to like walking into somebody's living room and trying to explain politics to them. It's also like this sort of weird social dynamic where
Yeah.
you're kind of talking at people who don't know you at all, and you're kind of just making them know you and forcing yourself upon them in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Tell us about some of we've gotten into the comedy, but before you did comedy, when I looked you up, there were some really unique jobs you had before you even went to comedy. What were they? Explain them to me. Because
Well,
you self-proclaim you're nerdy, and I'm not nerdy at all, so I
yeah.
didn't get them.
So I mean, my history with employment is not amazing, but I did go to school. I originally went to school for English. I didn't finish that. Then I went to school for fashion design and merchandising, which I also have not fully finished. I finished that program, but I haven't finished my generals, which is not good. But I need to finish that. But I worked for a while. I was an intern in a costume shop. Um, and I worked before I worked at Wise Guys. I worked at a 1920s themed bar where I had to dress as a flapper every day I went in. Um, and my job at that job was I was writing people fake prescriptions for alcohol. So they would come in and I would pretend that they were in the wrong place. And then I would be like, oh, like what ails you? Like what's going on with you today? And then I would have to write them a prescription for liquor because like the theme of the bar, the name of the bar was Prohibition. So like it was supposed to be like in order to drink at the bar, they had to have a prescription for alcohol. So I had to like diagnose them and write them a thing. And it was very silly.
Yes, that's almost like comedy, like
Yeah, it
improv.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you went into comedy in 2016, and for a long time you worked at a comedy club or a couple different comedy clubs?
No, so Salt Lake only has one. And I have only worked there for a year.
Okay.
So I started working, well, I started working there in like February of 2019.
What do you like about working at a comedy club other than the obvious that you get to meet
Yeah.
comics?
Well, I don't really like meeting comics that much.
See what I mean? She's so
Yeah,
fun.
just because I'm kind of antisocial, but like I mean I obviously it's cool to see how the comedy club works and to see it from the inside. I'm sort of like always scheming to one day open a comedy venue.
I can totally see that.
Yeah. But also I would say, I mean, obviously working there allowed me to make connections with people that allowed me to like get spots and like get on shows and ultimately to like produce my own show there. And I did 4 iterations of that show. I had a 5th one scheduled before the pandemic, which was supposed to be on April 26th, and that didn't happen, obviously. But yeah, so I think I've gotten a lot of opportunities just from being there and just from knowing the right people from working there, and just sort of getting a lot of insight into like how stuff runs and how it works. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
So now on Facebook, you have that pandemic.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've been on it and I love it. And I love the way you host. I think what I enjoy about your comedy and your hosting, because your comedy comes out in your hosting, is your dry, deliberate delivery. Like deadpan, right? Don't you have a deadpan delivery?
I mean, I guess so. I don't think of it that way. I think that's just kind of how I talk. Like I'm not a super friendly, peppy person in general. Like I'm kind of just like, I'm very blunt. I'm very like, you know,
Fact.
yeah, exactly. And I don't really do anything frilly. Like I realized this past week actually that I had never introduced myself at the beginning of my mic ever. Like
Wow.
I had never said like, hi, I'm Rachel Rothenberg, the host of the Pandemic. I always just like start the mic and I'm like, welcome to the mic, da 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 da, and I never think to go through sort of the social rituals that you're supposed to go through in life. But I'm trying to do that more. And people have told me that my stand up is better when I smile every once in a while. I don't know if that's true, but I think in general, I just like it just doesn't occur to me to be like frilly about it. It doesn't occur to me to be not deadpan because I'm just sort of like, here's my joke, listen to my joke, laugh at my joke, done. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more charismatic and personable, but it is difficult for me.
Well, when I think about you, I used to be in a corporate training environment at a major bank that went bankrupt, not because of me. Washington Mutual. It sounds just like Washington Mutual, I mean. And when I was working there, we learned a lot about human nature because we had to train people. And you're very factual based.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're very left brained. You come at that's what it is, you guys. She comes at her. You have strong jokes because it's strong structure because you come at it from the left side of the brain. You just don't say, "Here's a bunch of shit," laugh. You've got the structure, like nobody's business. Like, in fact, when I'm watching you, you're like a wordsmith with the words you choose. You have an English background, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started an English degree, but I didn't finish it. But I do read, I do try to make sure that I'm a literate person who, uses language well.
You do such a good job of walking the fine line between having brilliantly written and smart comedy, but not wearing the people out. Like sometimes you can only take so much smart humor, but you don't wear me out. I can watch it and I'm dying to hear you again.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of it is like a lot of the joke premises are really, really, really dumb, but then I do it maybe in a smart way. Like I have like the subjects of my jokes tend to be like kind of base and kind of like sex and poop jokes and like stupid things, but like I try to do it in a way that isn't stupid.
Yeah. I get it. So have you ever thought of I mean, you're young and gorgeous. Have you ever thought of acting and modeling? And I mean, I would be selling my wares if I looked half as good as you, if I was half your age, half my age.
Yeah. I'm not, I've done a little bit of like comedic acting in like Friends films and sketches and stuff. But in general, I don't consider myself good at acting. I've never been good at acting, but I mean, certainly if somebody offered me the opportunity to do it, I would try. I don't know. I don't know if I'm good at being other people because I'm.
Sorry, go ahead and
No,
finish.
go ahead. I was just going to say.
I want to say I saw you on a podcast, but you're too smart for that one. I heard you on a podcast with Bryce something or other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And your voice is so perfect for a podcast, but your looks are too beautiful to be wasted on a podcast.
That sounds nice. I have a couple of podcasts I'm trying to make, but I haven't started any of them yet. I have podcasting equipment right here. See, I have a podcasting mic. I have 2 podcasting mics, but I haven't followed through on it yet.
Yeah. And you even did some social media type, is that what you call it? You did social media work for me?
Yeah. I would say yeah.
So like people, if you need any, like if there's ever time you need anything in the social media realm, hit her up.
Yeah.
And book her to come around the country and host, or can you feature?
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't just have to open because she's pretty and a girl. She can feature. I don't know. Maybe you can headline. Can you?
I don't have enough time yet to headline, in my opinion. I probably, it depends on like the length of the set, but I mean, I would say right now I probably have about 30 minutes of material that I can stand. I wouldn't say I have enough material for a headlining set, only because like if I put together all the material I've ever written in my life, including stuff that I hate and don't want to do, I probably have enough time, but like I don't like enough of my material to do an hour.
I just threw out 45 pounds of jokes.
Oh, really?
Just like, and then somebody told me you should never throw anything out, but I had to drag along 2 boxes of jokes and I move way too much for that. So
yeah,
I tossed them. You know how you look back at your stuff and go, you've been there. You're You're
I
just
mean,
looking for something new.
yeah, and I often will like try stuff and decide even like right after I did a bit. Like I did a bit a couple of weeks ago on a live mic where I tried to tell this story and it bombed, and everybody afterwards was like, "Oh, it has legs. You should keep working on that." And I was like, "Nope. I hate this bit. I'm never doing it again. I hate it." Like
Good.
it's not what I'm trying to do. It didn't work. There are reasons it didn't work. I'm throwing it in the trash. And maybe that's the wrong attitude, but like I'm a perfectionist. Like I want it to be always good. I don't want it to just be okay. And like, if I have a bit that's just doing okay, or that I can't learn well, or can't memorize, like it just has to go.
Absolutely. That's good advice to people, because if it isn't part of your persona, or you keep trying to remember it, and you have to try so hard, or you have to act so much to make it believable or whatever, ditch it.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't, there's so many times I've been on stage where I've been butterflies because of the material,
Yeah.
all butterflies. It's so nice when you have some material that is, you're speaking from your heart authentically, and the audience comes along for the ride because they know intrinsically, they just know, yeah, she's really talking now.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm always nervous. I'm always like scared to death anytime I'm doing stand up. So like, I mean, butterflies would be something. If I only told jokes that didn't give me butterflies, I would probably never tell any jokes. But but I also like, there's a difference between a joke that makes you nervous, that is going to land even though you're nervous, and a joke that like has like I had a joke for a while. I had a joke about the name Karen like 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
And it was about how it's like hack to use Karen as a punchline, and how like people always use Karen as this punchline. And now that's like a big thing. But I ended up throwing out that joke because, number one, I was like, this joke isn't really my style. This isn't really my thing. And number two, like the joke was just like way too complicated and I just couldn't learn it. So anytime I tried to do it, even though the joke did really well, like anytime I tried to do it, I had to use my notes and I had to like stare at my notes, and it wasn't like, I couldn't learn that joke. I tried for like a year.
Wow, a whole year. Wow. Yeah. I have a little brain injury from getting hit by a drunk driver in 96. And when I haven't, let's say for just a minute that I actually would sit down today and write 15 minutes of material, which isn't going to happen. But if I did, it would literally take me 20 times a day for 2 weeks to memorize 5 minutes of material.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you the same way with memorizing?
Yeah, I'm not good at memorizing at all. Like I have to and I don't have any good excuse. Not that that's an excuse. I just mean I personally I don't have any good reason why I can't memorize. I just like, what I have to do is I have to break jokes down into like digestible chunks and like bullet notes, and if I can't break it down into individual bullet notes that I can remember, like I'm never going to learn it. So if it's like overwritten and too complicated, it's just hopeless.
Yeah. Like I like putting bullet words. Is that what you call it? Like a word for every joke. And then I go and cluster them in that that's the order they have to be in. I can't mix it up to memorize it. So I have to come up with an acronym in that order.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tough.
Yeah.
How am I going to remember this? I can remember the words easier than the acronym.
Right. Yeah. And I still use notes. I mean, I would say that my way that I do it is really similar to how you do it, where like I kind of I treat it like a puzzle where I have like the individual pieces and then I do rearrange them, but I always have a set list. Like I can't, at least so far, and I need to ultimately get to the point where I can function without a set list, but right now I still need a set list anytime.
Yeah, when you need it, you need it. And sometimes when you push yourself and you don't need it anymore, you're going, wow, I can't believe I got through it without a set list. That's huge. But there's times like, when you're exhausted or upset about something else, you need a set list again. It sneaks back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What's really funny lately is that you see people turning up their noses in clubs, like that if you bring this is your set list or you put it on your hand, that's taboo. But if
Yeah.
you got it on your phone, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I see the comics going like that, and that's okay. But I
Yeah.
have a brain injury and I can't look at, notes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's weird. I
Yeah.
always use I always use handwritten notes. I always use a very specific type of notebook. I have like a ritual surrounding how I do the notes. Let me see if I can find one. But I highly recommend, if this is okay to do in this interview, I highly recommend to anybody writing set lists by hand this specific notebook by Field Notes. It flips upwards and it's narrow, and I always ritualistically write my sets out on these. So
I love that.
this is the notebook. This is the one.
I love it. So you've been to do you like coffee and tea? Have you been to Starbucks often?
I have been, yeah.
Yeah. They have those clay mugs. They're porcelain or something, and they're white, and they come with a pen inside of them, and they're just clear. And so you go up on stage and they think you're drinking coffee, but you can write your set list on this side of the mug.
Oh my God. That's a good
Like
idea.
gangster.
That's so sneaky. I love that.
Yeah, that's what I use.
That's so
But
fun.
you have to be careful not to bake it, because then you can't erase it. You can only, there's two ways to do it. Don't bake the mug. Like I'm going to bake a mug, whatever.
Yeah. That's fun.
So now you're on Facebook. I have to keep the interview short because T-Mobile, and I have to babysit T-Mobile. They always want to tell me I'm out of hotspot time every day. I think I'm probably going to get free T-Mobile for life if I bitch enough, but I'm not. So I kind of have to get towards the wrap up. But now on social media, you're under the stylings, amazing stylings, the
comedic stylings.
Yeah, see how I am with notes?
Yeah, you're fine.
Notes don't always help.
Yeah, so do you want me to say my social media things?
Yes, please.
Okay, so yeah, I'm on Instagram as the underscore comedic underscore stylings underscore of. And on my Instagram, I post lots of pictures of like outfits and pictures of like stand-up related stuff, and also pictures of my pet bugs when I have them. My last pet bug actually died, so I don't have any right now. But I
wanted to talk about your pet bugs. I didn't get.
Yeah, I do have pet bugs usually.
A pet bug died. Was that sad? Was that traumatic?
It was kind of sad. She was very old for a mantis. She was like almost a year old, so it wasn't surprising. But I mean, it was only sad insofar as like I'm in quarantine and it was the last of my bugs, so I was like, oh.
Aww.
But
you want some of my cockroaches?
I actually have a bunch of cockroaches right now. because I keep cockroaches to feed to the praying mantises. So I actually have 3 jars of cockroaches in my living room.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. So you're the comedic stylings underscore of. Yes. Where'd you get that name?
Well, it was coming from the fact that like, I mean, when I made it, I was doing more fashion stuff than I am now. I should probably get back into fashion stuff, but it was like, I was like, oh, I'm posting like pictures of outfits I wear to do comedy. So it was supposed to, it's like, obviously there's the phrase comedic stylings. So I was like, oh, comedic stylings, it's like clothes and comedy. So I'm combining those things. And then on Twitter, I'm also just at comedic stylings.
Okay.
But yeah, so the idea was like, I'm into fashion and like personal styling type stuff and also comedy. So that was where that came from.
Wow. So if you went back into fashion in some way here with in the next whatever, what would you be doing in the fashion world?
So I mean, I just haven't had a lot of luck with getting jobs in fashion. So and part of that's probably the fact that I haven't finished school, but I have education in like personal styling, and I'm really good. If you ever need somebody to like help you, and I can do this remotely, but if you need somebody to help you like refine your own personal style and like or define your personal style as the case may be, and you need somebody to help basically help you dress yourself, like I'm very good at that. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. So what about YouTube videos?
All my YouTube videos are private except for one of my cat from like 2012. Um, but if you ever want a clip from me, you can just message me and I can send you one.
Okay. Have you ever thought about touring the country and being a host or a feature and doing a tour with somebody that is a headliner?
I mean, I would love to do that if that's, you know, a viable thing in the world. It's just, you know, actually in February I did my first comedy festival, which was in Las Vegas. And
Met a lot of people at that time here.
yeah, and it was really 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 fun, and I loved it, and I was really resolving to do more traveling for comedy this year, but then of course I can't this year. So hopefully in the future I can do more festivals. And yeah, I mean, if somebody wanted me to tour with them, obviously I would go, you know.
Super. I know there's a lot of comics here in Vegas who are road comics and do go out on tours. And
Yeah,
I don't think they'd mind having you along for one of them spots.
that would be
So
amazing.
let's put this out there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about Rachel Rothenberg getting through the pandemic and you're young, so you're probably out there protesting. I think I've seen some things about Black Lives Matter on your page. Do you want
Yeah.
time to talk about the crazy world we're living in?
Sure. I mean, I don't know that I'm not like the most qualified person to talk about it. I've been trying to participate in the protests to the degree that I can. I think, you know, ultimately right now the protests, if you are young and able to go, it's worth the risk. It's important right now to make this statement and, you know, say that Black Lives Matter, and you know, but also um you know, it's obviously a risk to participate. But I will say that at every protest that I've been to, almost every single person there was wearing masks, and I think that that is a testament to the fact that people who are attending these protests have empathy for other people, and you know, care about other people not getting sick. And um you know, no judgment on anybody who can't go because they're, you know, older or immunocompromised, but you know, if you're young and you're able to go and you can partake, you know, obviously I think it's really important. I don't think I'm, you know, obviously I'm a white lady, so I don't necessarily have like the most um important perspective on this, but you know, my perspective is, if you are a white lady or a white human or any other color of human, you know, you should be doing some reading, doing some educating yourself right now, be talking to people, and make sure that you're on the right side of history, because I think we're going to look back on this and this is a really important moment. So
Me too. Makes me sad because I'm 69 years old. I know that's a big shock, but um, in 69 years, nothing has gotten better with our way that we treat people in America who are of a different color than, you know, I'm so sick of people that think they're better than anybody else. You
yeah.
know, then I'm judging people who think they're better than anybody else. I'm back to being a terrible person because I think I'm better than people. You get it? It's kind of a rat race. Like
Well, I think having empathy for other people is just the most important thing you can do right now in regards to both this movement and also the pandemic. Like, I think that right now what we're seeing is something that people are identifying as a political divide, but it's actually an empathy divide. And what you see is people who care about not getting other people sick are also the same people who care about people who are not the same race as them and people who are getting murdered. Like, it's it's just so striking to me seeing, I don't know if you've seen any of these posts of like the same people who were complaining about being locked up because of the pandemic, you know, condemning the protests. And it's just wild. It's just, you know, I think it's, if there's one thing that you can do on a very broad level right now, it's make sure that you are in tune with your empathy and make sure that you are trying to understand other people's perspectives and trying to take care of other people.
You know, before the pandemic, a lot of older people, you know, I'm not talking about myself, older people, they
Yeah.
would think that they're better than millennials. There was the, you know, the millennials made jokes about the boomers and vice versa.
Yeah.
And through this pandemic and now the uprising, which should happen, I am so proud of the young people in this country. So proud. I'm so proud. I don't know if you left this to boomers, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they did leave it to boomers, and look where we are.
yeah. And I mean, something that always weirds me out, because my parents are boomers also. And I, you know, I grew up being told that baby boomers were the ones who in the 60s, you know, participated in all these protests and all of these, you know, movements that, you know, tried to make the world more modern and more progressive. And seeing so many baby boomers turn back on that and become so conservative and become so so not understanding of these types of movements, I'm just confused. Like my parents are not my parents are supportive of the protests and supportive of the movements, so they're at least being consistent. But I just, you know, I grew up with one understanding of what baby boomers were about, and then I've seen that just totally flipped on its head. And I guess what I would say to any baby boomers watching would be, if you like just remember the 1960s, you know, like we did this and it didn't pan out because we didn't stick to it. And like I think millennials, like, we need to stick to our guns. When we are 60, we need to still be holding these values. We need to not become conservative and not you know, cling to the past. We need to always be moving forward.
I think if every single person would come up with one way that they could affect racism, you know, have a positive effect. I literally got so depressed, I pretended I was Black in America one night. And I tried to look at the world. Okay, now I'm pretending I'm Rachel Dolezal, you know, and I'm looking out at the world. And what do I see? I see, oh my gosh. And when I did that little exercise, I saw that there's still racism everywhere.
Yeah.
It's sneaky little, sneaks in like, you know, smoke in a fire. And well, okay, so like the one thing I decided I'm going to do the rest of my life I'm committing to, every time I'm near a library. I hate libraries. I hate to read. I'm going to go into a library, check out Black history books and make sure they're on point, or demand, I'm going to work my way up the corporate ladder inside of that conglomerate of a bank, of a library, and see that the books are accurate. Because my daughter went to a 98% Black school.
Oh yeah.
And the literature that was in the library used the N-word, but used it inappropriately. So anybody that would read it would not know they're not supposed to use the N-word because it was used in the history book. Little things like that. I think that, you know, I can't solve everything going on in the country.
Right.
But maybe if I find one avenue.
Yeah.
So.
And and like my fiance and I were trying to order some books the other day just to do more reading on racism and better understand it. And this is a good thing, but we found that every single book that we were trying to order was completely sold out. What? So people are reading, people are doing it.
Oh, good. It wasn't a lie. They really are sold out.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let's get a hold of them publishers and make them reorder that.
Yeah.
many people are they turning away?
Yeah.
Us
But
white people need to use our privilege for good if we
yes.
have privilege, like using it to call care and the manager isn't getting racism any better. We need to quit worrying about ourselves.
Yeah. And we need to evaluate the structures which benefit us and, which don't make us uncomfortable and fix them. And, I think something really interesting that I have felt in the past few weeks, because the protests in Salt Lake were really significant. And there were some, actions taken largely by white people here where they were like flipping police cars and burning them and various things. But like what I found was, the police sort of occupation of Salt Lake City has been very, very unnerving to me. And, I have arrived at the conclusion that the police are frightening and that the militarization of the police is frightening. And, I just have to remind myself, like, the fear that I am feeling of the police right now is a fear that Black people have been feeling for, time immemorial. And, that fear that I am feeling is what I am supposed to be feeling. Like I am only getting a taste of it. And the fact that I am exhausted after going to protests, or the fact that I am feeling, emotionally burned out, is something that, like, not everybody has the opportunity to even take a break. Like I have the opportunity to, do self-care and take a step away from the protests and do my own thing. But like Black people don't have the option to just step away from racism. It's not a thing. So, you just need to be able to put everything in perspective and, do participate in whatever capacity you can.
Yeah. Can you imagine being a Black mother in America and being like sick at home and sending your teenager to 7-Eleven to get some 7-Up and not knowing if your child will come back or get shot?
No, I mean, it's horrendous. It's
Yeah, we don't even
inexcusable.
think about that.
And we just need to, have some humanity. I don't think it's difficult to see other people as people, but yeah.
I'm so sick and tired of racism. I'm not tired of talking about it. I'll talk about it all day long. I'll try to inspire other people to do one thing to help racism.
Yeah.
But I'm so sick and tired that it's still there. 69 years of this.
Yeah. And more.
And I'm white. Can you imagine if I was a person of brown or Black color in America and I'd lived here 69 years with this bullshit?
You would be tired. You would be ready to burn everything down.
Yeah, that for sure. For sure. We need to empathize with that too.
Mm-hmm.
You've been lovely to talk to, and I only wish you the best. The underscore comedic underscore stylings underscore of on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, Rachel Rothenberg. I might have got it wrong. I think you're going to correct me. Okay.
On Twitter, it's just comedic stylings.
Comedic stylings.
Yeah.
With no underscore.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. And on my Twitter, I post dumb one-liners and political stuff, and it's what do you expect from Twitter? So
yeah, I love Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for, I had lousy equipment and you came back on so we could get it on better equipment. So this is what $900 gets you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you updated everything. It's working a lot better. It seems like it's going smoothly and you're able to stream it, and that's exciting. People are able to get access to your amazing interviews and see them. And
thank you. Thank you so much. And God bless you, whatever it is you go after, just go after it, girl.
And thank you for having me.
I would.
Yeah.
I was half my age. Never mind, you get it.
If you were half my age, you would be unable to consent.
I'm but so anyway. Old, my AARP bag can vote. So I don't even know how to.
Well, anyway, thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Rachel Rothenberg. Take it easy and have a great one.
You as well. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.